Are you a business owner looking to grow your business in South Africa? Tune in to the Blaze podcast with Telkom Business. Learn from the experts and get tips on marketing, finance, innovation, and more. Blaze with Telkom Business.
Welcome to another special episode of the Telkom Business Blaze podcast. Today we have a very special guest joining us, Kabelo, the founder and driving force behind Y Brand Agency. Kabelo Ncholo's journey from humble beginnings to building a successful, full-service advertising agency is nothing short of inspiring. He's also an accomplished author, entrepreneur, and Telkom business brand ambassador who's passionate about uplifting others, particularly through initiatives like the Future Makers. In this episode, we'll be diving into the entrepreneurial journey, the challenges he's faced, and how he's built a sustainable business in a highly competitive industry. We'll also explore the role Telkom Business has played in his success and how he stays creative and innovative, and the valuable advice that he has for young entrepreneurs. Let's kick off. Can you start by sharing your entrepreneurial journey and how you started Y Brand Agency?
Mashudu, thank you. My journey is very interesting, and I think to give you a picture, right? I think it's the majority of South Africans or Africans, how they start business. We're from survival. So I was really not getting into entrepreneurship as an intention, right? It was by default for me, it was survival. Came to Joburg, the course that I meant to study, I realized that this is not the course for me. And I found myself as a waiter. And the opportunity came, and while I was serving, being a waiter at the restaurant, at my Cree family restaurant, and for me to start this business where 20 years later, I never thought it would be where it is. So it was purely by survival, by default. It was not intentional for me to be an entrepreneur. At the time, the objective was very simple, was for me to dress myself up, pay my rent, and send some money home, because I come from a very disadvantaged background. Yeah.
So when you started Y Brand, what was the vision that you want to be able to bring to life with it? So I mean, the start of Y Brand, it has to do with my background as well. So I come from, just to give a picture, and you're going to understand what drove my business to tilt to what it is today, right? So I come from where my mother worked as a domestic worker. I was left behind to be raised by my great-grandmother. So we had literally nothing, right? And one thing that my great-grandmother taught us was to always perfect whatever that we do. So I became a waiter. That spirit of perfection, so doing anything that actually to your level best was with me. And when I then saw the opportunity, because of how Y Brand came about, I didn't even think I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, was the restaurant that I was working at. They were serving, the schools were coming for matric farewells. And I was 19 years. Previous year, I did matric farewell, and I think in the township we had our own matrics in our community hall and so on. And I felt like it was the best. So the difference here was they had one section of the restaurant. And now we have to keeping on telling them to really lower their noise level because of being considerate of other patrons in the restaurant. Something inside of me felt very discomfort. And I always say entrepreneurship comes like that. It didn't come to me in a silver plate or wearing the way I was. I was a waiter, serving. And I just felt discomfort in terms of what can they be served. And I felt like I can do something. And being Kabelo, I went to my fellow waiter and I says, you know what, this, I don't think they're having the best matric farewell. And he actually made a bet. And he says that actually as people, we're forever complaining. That chef that you're looking on the other side, I promise you he's been planning to start these 3 years. And I bet the following year, you're still going to be here and serving them. And I said to him, without thinking, I bet 10,000 rent, and this is 2001. 10,000 rent. I will not be here the following year to serve this matrix. Time comes, I still distinctly remember the date. This is now the 30th of September, 2002. Papa, his name, the fellow waiter, so excited to say, I told you you're going to be here, so you owe me 10,000, without me thinking. I just got to him, and at that day, it was our boss, Adrian Kruger, who was actually running the restaurant or managing us for the night.
And he put so much pressure. I haven't saved. I've got responsibility. I've got rent. It's month end. And without thinking, I said to him, listen, it's my last day. Today, I'm quitting. On that night, I had a table, a very difficult table. And after the end of the night, their bill was, I think, 1,650. And they gave me my 350. So that was my start of entrepreneurial journey. I took that 350 the whole month of October. I had no, in fact, it was end of August. The whole month of September, I had no place to stay. I took that 350, I printed some leaflets, and I went to those schools. So during that process, I've took the name of the school, the principals, and I made some contacts, right? It was so interesting. I call it my first breakthrough. I had the worst month, chicken pox on month of September. However, when I went to those schools, 4 schools agreed, a 20-year-old boy, for them to do their matric dance, and I was charging them 25,000, and that's how I first made my 100,000. And to me, it was basically one opportunity in terms of those schools. I don't think that they were done justice by just coming to the restaurant and not really having the best matric farewell. Secondly, for me to survive, I mean, I had rent. I just came to Joburg, right? So that was a motivation at the time. And eventually, that's what my great-grandmother taught me, to do something perfectly. So I did it so well. They kept on saying, we would like you to do our follow-up matric farewell and so on. Yeah. So that was a vision at the time. I didn't even think that far. It was at the time, do what you can do now, make sure that your rent is secured and you can send some money back home.
That's an interesting way to start, you know, and like taking the challenges that you were facing and finding wins from it, right? And, you know, I know you say you didn't go into entrepreneurship with intention, but you were clearly seeing problems in the world that you wanted to solve, and you wanted to create a better experience for the people that you were seeing having the experience that they were having. So what did the business evolve into, you know, from, you know, going from hosting these matric farewells to, you know, where did we go?
So this is why I say that it was very unintentional for me to be where I am. It was basically doing my best. Every single thing, every single opportunity, I need to show up. I need to do better than what the people are. It doesn't matter how small it was and so forth. So I did that and applied the same methodology or thinking when I was doing this matric farewells. And 2 years later, the schools, which is VET, I registered earlier, so I have a few contacts. The Law Society, it was a Law Society and Society of Mining, the School of Mining. They reached out to me to actually organize their gala dinners or their ball functions, right? And this is now where I always say to entrepreneurs, right? Opportunities, they don't come as a clear vision, right? It's a process. It was a process of me coming from serving in a restaurant and doing the farewells, matric farewells, and doing quite well in them. And eventually the opportunities of me doing a bigger function, such as like your VET University. I think I was 21 years at the time, doing their ball functions came up. And when that came, and this is now where it's starting to give me a function. Let me tell you something where you can really understand how I didn't see Vibrant or what it is today. It was so unintentional. I called my name, the name of the business at the time, Yourself Events Organizations, right? And the name Yourself was to really do, when the name was coming, was to do matric farewells that they matriculants will appreciate it themselves, right? So I came up with the name Yourself. So do a service that you can appreciate, which is my business, still stands by that echo, that whatever service rendering that we offer, the client should, before we promise to overpromise the client expectations, let's meet the expectations first. What will they want? Whatever they do, can we meet the expectations? And that's where the name came. And then go to VET. VET, it was, of course, a procurement process. And they asked me, what's the business name? And guess what I said? I said, Yourself Events Management, changed from organization because of it was informal. This is now 2004. And why the business is literally officially 20 years from 2004. I go to the bank with a check. They give me a check. I go to the bank to check in that 100,000 for after supplying their service, right? And the teller says to me, "This check is not for you, sir." I was like, "What do you mean? I'm here to check it. I've done this." They're like, "No, it's for the business." And the humble approach, which is also coming from my background. I said, "What do you mean?" It's like, "No, you have to go register the company. So this check is on this company." And literally the teller told me where to go to register the business. There were a few blocks in Braamfontein that they were responsible for registering the business. And I had to go there, get there. They told me there's 3 names. I was like, "No, there won't be any name change. The check is with these names." And lucky enough, I got the name. So that's how unintentional the business was registered, right? But the intention was to always provide perfection and always grow and always trying to create something out of nothing. And it turned out well.
Yeah. You know, you have a very clear dedication for excellence and making sure that the work that you provide is of the best value.
Yeah.
Can you talk to what some of the major challenges that you faced in trying to build this business, but also how you overcame those challenges?
So, post those, right, and I was very fortunate with very inquisitive, and so you take this young man that has so much hunger, so much zeal, and whatever task that is being given in terms of my hand, I try to do it 10 times better, right? Because of it was making a difference, right? Now I'm this young, that much money I'm making, I'm able to make a difference back at home. I made sure that I rent my mother, who was staying in a squatter camp, like a place to stay, and I also had responsibility of my great-grandmother. So when I was going through that, right, then I met the opportunity for me to get into a marketing agency. There's a lady called Michelle Combrick. So I met her PA first. So I started doing a lot of promotions in the club. So it was like a club in Braamfontein, same spirit, same engagement, and so forth. And it's like, actually like your energy. I'd like you to meet my boss. Because we got a campaign that we're doing in Soweto, and we're struggling to really have people to execute the campaign. And I think the meeting was on Tuesday. I went on Tuesday. And literally when I got there, she gave me an opportunity. And when she gave me an opportunity to go and do these activations in Soweto, now this is the birth of the agency. And with that spirit of perfections and doing more with less, right? More jobs started coming. With more job coming, more money. So you need to take my journey. I'm this entrepreneur that does not know anything about business acumen. My business account, I look at as my personal account.
Yeah.
Now I'm making serious money, right? I think let's say by 2006, I was so busy with my activations that I made my first R1 million. But with no educations of business and so forth. So that changed me. And the lifestyle as well. So the challenge of being able to separate the business funds to my own personal funds, the business acumen, I'm not really understanding what my business is about, so I took it as survival. And I didn't have a longer or long-term vision, right? So I wanted to survive. Now I'm doing more than I can survive. I had cars as a young boy. I wanted to feed things that I wanted to have. Now I have them. And then what happened was 2008, I started not paying attention to the opportunities that is coming up. So I have an office. But that office, I don't hire the right people. I've got friends, but I mean, really nothing is really happening. And now I was starting to compromise the business, and she sets me down, which is something I appreciate. And it's like, Kabelo, I'm about to kill you. Something that changed my life. And said to me, you see, you came, you had the hunger, you had the zeal, now you're doing better than what you even anticipated. You didn't have a vision, and because of that, now it's going to detour you. And I asked her, what do you mean, Michelle? It's like, I'm going to stop giving you business so that you can learn. And I said, what do you mean? It's like, till you start understanding what entrepreneurship means, right? It's not for you, but it's to make an impact in terms of the community, right? People like you that are coming from dysfunctional background, poor background, because of you, it's hard for someone to get into someone's shoes. But when you walked in the shoes, it becomes easy. And that's why I gave you this opportunity to make a difference to others. And that's what entrepreneurs, economics and so forth. But you don't understand that. And she gave me a task and say that, do you see your business being a 50-year-old business? And talking about sustainability, right? So if you have sustainability in mind, you will understand that R1 million that you have now as a young man is not enough, right? Because of then you will want to grow this small thing to something that is bigger, and that's something that is going to make a difference. So that was a turnaround for me, having those conversations. And immediately, she stopped the life support. She stopped supporting me, outsourcing business to me. And 2009, I had the worst time. And that time, it also gave me a lot of time to reflect in terms of what I need. And when she was pushing, when she pushed back, I did something, which is I normally tell to entrepreneurs. I didn't blame her to say, she's white. That's why she's doing this, right? I went back and I have my self-introspection, my spirituality, my religious background played part as we prayed at home, and we are always taught to take responsibility because of the only contract we have. I'm coming from a home whereby we are told that we only have a covenant with God. Then the next person, they got their own ways and plans, and they can be used as angels by God. So I took that and I introspected as part of my introspections, and I started to realize where I missed. And I started engaging with her. And I said to her, became vulnerable. That was the first page. I said, Michelle, I did wrong. I had nothing now. Everything that I have accumulated, I lost it. Cars repossessed, now starting to be in a taxi. And I literally went to my lowest moment. And through that lowest moment, which is I appreciate, I started having engagement with her. Then she then said to me, you need to start looking at business as a career, right? Not, people don't have idea of what business is. They're looking at business as a way of life, right? Without really acquiring knowledge of how to do it, right? Because of you are aware that you're in business, have you acquired information, knowledge that can support you for growth? And what do you mean? It says that's why you need to go to school. Why do you think there's business courses? That is one thing that you need to do. Secondly, as I told you, you cannot have a long-term vision without having a skill. And to acquire a skill, to have a long-term vision, you're going to acquire with this knowledge, which is you're going to get through schools. And I took those. One, I started to look and ask myself to say, how can I make this business a 50-year-old? Started benchmarking how business get to be 50 years, starting to be obsessed with the sustainability of the business. Secondly, immediately after that, I realized that, okay, I actually don't know much in terms of business. From business acumen, I know how to count money, but do I really know what business is? And that propelled me to start my business education journey. Started enrolling, first with my business certificate, and eventually got to the point where I just recently got my executive master's in business administration. Yeah. So that to me was a turnaround, to be given a skill, to be mentored, and to be told in a hard laugh what to do. And when I got an opportunity, I think my next opportunity came 2010. And when that opportunity came, I was totally a different person. I knew what I wanted to achieve. How do I make this business that started 2004 to actually turn 100 years? And that's why one of our vision is to exist for 100 years. But not only to exist for 100 years, how do you grow it, and how you start to impact and be part of the society, be inspirational to other entrepreneurs, but also provide an employment and also be some sort of a support to other entrepreneurs that you're working with. And this is how I turn around all the learnings.
It's such an incredible journey, and congratulations on achieving that. How important was mentorship? You know, you're speaking about how this hard love was important to your journey, but how important is mentorship, one, for your journey, but also how important is it that you are now part of the generation of entrepreneurs that are going back and looking at other entrepreneurs and saying, this is how you do it, you can do it better, and you can set better intentions?
I think, let's take South Africa as an example, right? We don't lack from stimulations of entrepreneurs, right? We can survive as entrepreneurs, and you also need to be specific. In terms of South Africa, 90% of the populations are black people. So I always say there's the sustainability of the country's economy, and not only South Africa, but Africa as a whole. It's with the sustainability of intentionally black entrepreneurs. When we have sustainable black entrepreneurs, we'll be able to address unemployment, right? Because of we the majority, that will be able to have more entrepreneurs, more businesses that now are able to create an employment. Now, as a result of having sustainable black-owned SMMEs, we're starting to have a ripple effect. And is that unemployment? It's the economy. We are not the economic drivers. The question that we should ask ourselves based on the background that you're coming from is the fact that, one, mentorship, right? But what is mentorship at the same time? Majority of us black entrepreneurs or black African entrepreneurs, we didn't get into this business space as intentional. Intentional meaning when you go study medicine and you're becoming a doctor, you start your operations. It's an intentional entrepreneurship that you have acquired skill for. We get into entrepreneurship to survive. I lost my job, I need to do something. I could not secure employment. My background is this. So for me to survive, I need to do this. So it's very unintentional. And with unintentional part of getting into this entrepreneurial journey, we are limited to think beyond surviving, right? And as a result of us being limited to think beyond surviving, this is now where we're starting to see challenges, economical challenges, social challenges that you're experiencing, right? Because of, there's not been a moment where we are able to sit down, or opportunities or platforms such as this to say, Kabelo, how did you start? How did you get there? What are the challenges? And authentically so, speaking of these particular challenges, and how did you help? And also the responsibility. You need to understand that as much as I'm pointing this out, my mentorship did not come up in a manner of, I'm looking for a mentor. It was a hard love. It was honest conversation. It was a pushback. It was, you need to meet and asking the right questions, and also introspecting from a place of honesty, that I was able to take the key learnings from someone who has been in a business journey for 20 years. So mentorship plays a big role in entrepreneurship, right? But also entrepreneurs, they need to, there should be more awareness in terms of what is mentorship. It's not an entitlement, it's not a free ticket to get certain things fast. It's what is understanding the process that you are taking and what does it take. It's understanding that you can't be an entrepreneur and hoping to build a business that is going to be sustainable, and you are limited, like in terms of your educational background. Business is knowledge. You need to then empower yourself with education. How are you going to serve a big organization that has, say for an example, if you have an aspirations to have a multi-million rand business, how are you going to run the systems and the processes that takes that business growth without understanding business acumen, business knowledge? How are you going to talk to your stakeholders? And now that takes part from short term. You survive. When business is supposed to go to growth stage, the business dies off. And why it dies off is because of the understanding of what it takes from business and the informations and the expectations of mentorship. And I think as entrepreneurs, we think that mentorship is a license when it's supposed to say, how can I understand this particular process? Yeah. So it's a very key thing. In fact, I think that entrepreneurial mentorship or entrepreneurial studies, they need to be started early as primary school. Everyone else to understand what does it take to run a business. And you should also starting to move away from looking at business, or when you're an entrepreneur, looking at it as a business person, but how professional it is, because of you ended up being a professional person. When you get to the top of your organizations, you're becoming an executive. So you need to carry yourself as like any other person who have studied and worked themselves to get to the top. So you survived. It's an ecosystem that develops you and that swallows you. Then eventually you're starting to create your business to hire you that can give you a sustainability.
Yeah, you speak about sustainability a lot, and I must congratulate you on running your business for 20 years. I think that's an incredible thing, especially in a country that has, a failure rate for businesses that is extreme, Most businesses are mostly dead in 5 years. Yeah. You going on 20, what sort of values and characteristics does it take to sustain a business for over 20 years?
So, how I run my business, right? It's the same way I ran when I was a waiter. My 19 years and getting into that space and learning, we are not being tipped at the time. So you need to earn your money by giving a good service, right? Without giving a good service, you're not going to get a tip. So you accumulate your tips, 50 Rand, 100 Rand, for it to eventually becoming a remunerations of to be bigger for you to pay rent and so forth. So that stayed with me. And one key thing is our boss at the time, 19, because I was very inquisitive in terms of how do you run this sustainable, says that if you serve, he used to tell us that if we take care of our customers, the door will always be open for this business, because if everyone wants to go where they're taken care of. And any business that takes care of its customers will have its doors open. But you then understand that there's a trajectory or the customer journey along the way that you then have to invest so much in terms of what customers' needs are, because those needs, they change over time. And my business has been that, to say, and I keep on telling the team and saying that the first thing first, if we take care of our customers, these doors will open. Secondly, it's as an SMME, we are client-centric. So customers are not just a customer to us. A customer is an investor. So when a customer gives us business, it's also from a big organization perspective where you get an investment for you to grow. So literally our growth is based on how well do we take care of our customer so they can give us more business and eventually contribute towards our growth. So that has really contributed towards who we are and to go across 20 years. And also having the interest in terms of what customers' needs are and what type of services are we providing. And we change with the patterns and trying to be ahead of our times to understand what times and what years are we in for us to be able to take care of that. So I always have this simple advice to anybody who wants to run a business. Take care of your customers, understand what your customer needs. Once you take care of your customers, your business doors will always be open.
That's so true. Talking about a business that really takes care of its customers, you're a Telkom client, but also a brand ambassador. How important has this been to contribute to your success?
I mean, to be associated with such a big brand like Telkom, one, it has actually helped towards me personally as an individual, as the founder of the business, in terms of creating my credibility. Just that association on its own, it talks volumes in terms of who we are. And also for the business itself, because of not only have they came, it's been a journey that we worked together, whereby they were able to support us in terms of creating the image of our business and how they have supported us. I mean, at one point, we had supported us from a media perspective where they put the billboards and so forth. It didn't go unnoticed, right? So the priority has always been on a customer. And now when you see your customer starting to see your other associations, and not from from a bigger organizations that have its own reputations, and they're supporting you, and they are free to say, be our brand ambassadors, be part of us. And that has played a huge role. And also, just to understand how the systems were, it just didn't start first by going to Telkom, by the way. It's us using their services, right? And us knocking at Telkom doors and say, how can your services help me as a small business to look good, right? It's through the process of really understanding what their services done to our business, from systems, from internet, providing all of these things that also contributed significantly from the operational rhythm that the business still has today, was as a result of the service offering that the Telkom did. And then that from our business equity or business value, it still could not be said anything further. It's really made us really to look good. We have acquired client as a result of that.
Yeah. So Telkom Future Makers is an initiative that you're very passionate about. Can you go into sort of your involvement in the program itself, but also how the vision of your own business aligns with the impact that Telkom Future Makers is trying to make?
I think the name itself, Future Makers, right, is looking in terms of the future and addressing the shortage in terms of entrepreneurs. How can they help and how can they match, So I think in terms of that, where Telkom is looking in terms of sustainability of like SMMEs, it's a very passionate thing. It's a very key thing that organization can really not look in terms of the present, but also take entrepreneurs and carry for them to becoming sustainable, right, through the Future Maker program. That is it's something that one is very passionate about, because of you have an organization that wants to be part of you, helps you to grow, because of within your growth, they're also able to grow with you. Not so many organizations are there. So organizations want to find organizations or businesses that are big already and look from sustainability from their side perspective. So that is key. And conversations in terms of creating a network of entrepreneurs or SMMEs owners, where we could talk and we can engage in terms of what are the challenges that you are facing, and those that have done well, how did they get to be where they are? And that is something that is commendable from a Telkom perspective and from the program, where a program like this, not only those that could not have an access to my story, but they can watch such a program, and through this program, they can also get inspired, and they can also start to know that, I'm not the only one. I can still go through this particular process, and it's just a matter of time that themselves, they will be able to see the light as well.
For someone that's watching this and they're a young person who's going, whether it's from a survival perspective or an intention perspective, I want to start something, I want to build something. What sort of advice would you have for them about, one, starting, but also navigating our sort of landscape for business and entrepreneurship?
So I have one key advice to all entrepreneurs, right? I think once you're becoming an entrepreneur, it's like you're choosing your career goal. You're getting into business. Try to study and align yourself in terms of business acumen. That's the first thing, that the sooner you do it, if you're a younger entrepreneur, you start entrepreneurship, start with your business studies very soon, then that is going to really direct how successful you're going to be, right? Because we have a lot of big pool in terms of everyone is entrepreneurs, but not so many of like emerging SMMEs or startup SMMEs are sustainable. In fact, the study suggests that about 90% of startup businesses, they don't see 5 years. And you need to ask yourself why 90% of such a big pool is not seeing 5 years. And out of 90% of that, I'm still going to say that in the country that you are at, how many of African startup entrepreneurs with a disadvantaged, such as the level of education that we have, become part of that remaining 10%. And for you to be part of that remaining 10% is to really hammer yourself with skills and knowledge of this particular journey. So entrepreneurship is not something that we do it to becoming successful overnight. It's a process of building and becoming an anchor in terms of building the country. One, so you can be able to provide employment, you can contribute towards the economy of this country, and you can also grow so that you can also be able to support the emerging entrepreneurs. So I always echo the sentiment to say that every entrepreneur, if I could say, that school is very important, especially business school, so that we can then starting to decrease that 90% pool of not unsustainable businesses that are not seeing probably over 5 years journey.
Yeah, you know, people are going to watch this and I think they're going to learn a lot because I have.
Yeah.
But you've also written a book about your journey.
Yeah.
What inspired you to share your story in such a personal and powerful way?
More than that, the fact that it was COVID.
Yeah.
So I looked for a business autobiography of someone I can relate with. You don't find such in the market. And if anybody who's reading my book, you will understand that I'm not coming from a point of being a hero. But I share my journey, I share my background, I share my challenges that I faced, which is some of it that I faced here when I started to make money, that almost suffocated me, and what made me to be who I am today. And some of the very same challenges in terms of the systems, and I still say it, like even today where we are, you are forever have to prove yourself. And how do you then still stay up when everything around you rejects you, when you want to say, if you say yes to something, there's 3 no's on the block, when there's so much thing that actually creates doubt within yourself. What type of a support systems did I have for me to be able to enjoy, to be able to see what the day is today? So I became vulnerable. And the whole idea was to write a book that me as a younger entrepreneur, I would have loved to read it and be like, if Kabelo with such disadvantage can still make it, how about me? And you look in terms of your support structure, you look in terms of your advantages, more than what I have, and you take that as an inspiration for you not to probably quit and becoming a better person or better entrepreneur.
Yeah. You know, just to end things off, how can people learn from you? How can they access the book, but also just find you online and be able to draw from this knowledge and this experience over 20 years and like be mentored by you as well?
Yeah. So there is you can go to like my website, not even the business website, Kabelo Ncholo, and most of my speaking engagement that I'm very much passionate about entrepreneurship, how to build the entrepreneurship and how to be sustainable. It's there, my book as well. It's also available in most of the bookstores, especially exclusive books. So you can have an access to what's that, and you can also engage with me. I'll try by all means to respond in my busy schedule. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to the Telkom Business Blaze podcast. We hope that you're walking away with valuable insights on building a sustainable business, staying innovative, and embracing the future of technology. Remember, Telkom Business is here to support you on your entrepreneurial journey because together, we're making the impossible possible. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more inspiring conversations. Until next time, keep blazing trails.